Have you ever been so available to a woman that she simply lost interest? Have you tried being the present, attentive, loyal guy, only to end up being sidelined as if none of it mattered? If this has happened to you, take a deep breath now, because what I'm going to show you in this video is a wake-up call. A wake-up call that will flip everything you've been taught about how to win a woman's heart and reveal the truth that no one tells you. The more you chase her, the further she runs. The more you let her go, the more she comes back. This video isn't for those looking to play cheap games. It's for those tired of being predictable, disposable, invisible. It's for those ready to become scarce. Because only when you understand the value of your presence do you learn the power of your absence. Today you're going to understand, point by point, why women fall for those who let them go. Before we continue, I need to tell you something. This video only reached you because someone liked it and subscribed to our channel. Now it's your turn to do the same. Leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell so this chain of knowledge keeps growing and reaching more people. Also, comment down below which city you're watching from, because I want to know how far this video is traveling. Now, no more delays, let's get to the good stuff. First reason, absence creates value. The truth is simple but powerful. What is rare becomes valuable. When you step back, when you're not always available, you force the other person to confront a space that was once filled by you, and that space begins to feel uncomfortable. Humans have this strange habit of only recognizing the value of something when they risk losing it. With women, this intensifies even more, because the constant presence of a man who is always there, eager to please, loses its shine in her eyes. He becomes predictable. And the predictable never seduces. Absence, on the other hand, is a cruel mirror. It shows how much that man made a difference, even without making a fuss. It shows that he was not just another guy, but someone who created unique sensations, even in silence. When you disappear, you become an enigma, and it's precisely the mystery of what is no longer present that starts to occupy space in her thoughts. The doubt about where you are, who you're with, why you haven't replied, begins to poke at her curiosity like a mental itch that cannot be resolved with texts or social media stories. This is pure psychology. Try it and then come back here to tell me the results. And if you've already distanced yourself from a woman, share in the comments. What happened? Did she chase you back? Did she return different? Or did she ignore you completely? I want to hear your experiences. Every story matters here. If you're tired of watching her play games, ignore you, and do whatever she wants with your feelings, it's time to show who's in charge of the game. It's time to make her chase you and recognize your true value. In the first pinned comment, I've left a step-by-step guide on how to make her pursue you. Plus, you'll level up and become the best version of yourself. Click now. Second reason, distance forces her to confront the emptiness. When you pull away, it's not just your body that leaves. It's the impact of your presence that vanishes. For a while, she might even pretend that she's fine, that your absence doesn't affect her. But as days go by, when no notifications show up, when no good morning arrives and silence becomes routine, the emptiness begins to speak louder than any message. What was once calm turns into discomfort. That presence she thought didn't matter starts to be missed. This distancing is not about punishment, it's about revelation, because it's in the silence that answers appear. She begins to realize that even surrounded by other men, no one has the same impact you had. The touch is different, the gaze is different, the energy is different, and this hits hard. It resonates like an echo inside her saying, "You let someone who made you feel good slip away, even in silence." And that's when her mind starts working against her. It's in the emptiness that she finds the reflection of the choices she made. And that reflection can be cruel, because imagining you moving on, having fun, evolving, while she feels the weight of something lost, activates comparison. And when longing turns into doubt and doubt turns into regret, the game has already shifted. She doesn't just want you back. She wants to be the woman who had you around before you realize you could be even happier without her. Third reason, he breaks the game by not playing. There's an emotional pattern that many women follow, consciously or unconsciously. A subtle power game where the one who shows more involvement loses ground. But when you break this, when you simply decide not to play, you mess up the script. You confuse her because she expects emotional control, but the control is with you, and that changes everything. Because the man who doesn't enter the game shows that he has his own board. Not reacting in the expected way is a rare move. She expected you to chase her, to argue, to try to prove something. But by doing nothing, you did everything. You showed that you don't need her validation, that you're not there begging for attention. And this kind of attitude has tremendous power, because when a man refuses to play the game, he forces the woman to step out of her comfort zone. And stepping out of the comfort zone is the first step to awakening real interest. Deep down, the man who doesn't play is the only one who sets the rules. Because he doesn't act to please, he acts out of conviction. And conviction is a psychological aphrodisiac. When you refuse to enter the competition, it starts competing for you. She realizes you are not like the others. You are the man who doesn't need to win, because you already feel complete without needing to prove anything. And this, for a woman, is both unsettling and seductive at the same time. Fourth reason, because rejection from a confident man affects her ego. Few things shake a woman's ego more than being rejected by a man who knows his own worth. An insecure, needy guy who plays games, she ignores that. But a firm, confident man who steps away with dignity and doesn't need an audience, he leaves a mark. He's not trying to prove anything. He simply chose not to continue. And that choice wounds her ego in a way that others can't reach. Rejection, when it comes from a place of strength, is perceived as judgment. She starts to wonder, was I not enough? Did he see something in me that I didn't see? And these questions turn into obsession. They tug at her self-image. She views herself as desirable, interesting, unique. But then a guy turns his back without drama, and all of that collapses inside her. This pain in her ego creates a reverse effect. She begins to want to reclaim the validation she lost. This desire has nothing to do with love. It's about rebalancing her own reflection. But in the process, she starts to remember the details. The way you looked at her, your calmness, your presence. And suddenly, her ego and heart intertwine. When that happens, she's already emotionally involved again. Fifth reason, because his disinterest forces her to reflect on what she lost. When you show disinterest, but without arrogance, just going on with your life naturally, you send a silent, powerful message. I don't depend on you to be happy. And that message is a shock. Because she's not used to being discarded, especially by someone of genuine value. This kind of behavior creates discomfort that turns into reflection, and slowly that reflection becomes nostalgia. Intelligent disinterest is not revenge. It's self-valuation. It's understanding that your time, attention, and energy are gifts, and not everyone deserves to receive them. When she feels she lost that access, she begins to reevaluate every moment she spent with you. Things that once seemed trivial now gain weight. Your listening ear, your gaze, your touch, your silence. Everything becomes a valuable memory. This process of reflection can take time, but when it happens, she realizes that what she lost wasn't just any guy. It was a man who knew his own worth, and that realization transforms you into something rare, a loss that can't be easily replaced. The more she tries to fill that void with others, the more she realizes that no one fits like you did. Sixth reason, because no one falls in love with someone who is always available. It may seem harsh, but it's true. Excessive availability kills desire. When you are always there, always ready, always waiting, you become predictable. And predictability doesn't evoke strong emotions. People are naturally attracted to mystery, the unpredictable, the challenge. A man who is always available stops being a conquest and becomes a guarantee. And what is guaranteed is rarely valued. The problem is many guys confuse presence with value. They think that by always being there, they will carve out a space for themselves. But in practice, that only diminishes the emotional tension that keeps interest alive. Being too available sends a message. You are more important than my own life. And unconsciously, that pushes her away, because no one wants to carry the burden of being the emotional center of someone else's life. On the other hand, when you have your own life, your plans, your boundaries, and she realizes she can't have you whenever she wants, she starts to want you all the time, because the man who can say no without guilt is the same one she begins to see in a new light. She starts to wonder, what is he doing right now? And that uncertainty, my friend, is the beginning of true attraction. Seventh reason, because the freedom you offer is more seductive than the prison of jealousy. Many men make the mistake of thinking that control is love, that showing jealousy proves interest. But the truth is that freedom, when genuinely offered, creates a much stronger bond, because she feels she's with someone who trusts her, and more importantly, trusts himself. And that self-assurance becomes a magnetic field. She asks herself, how does this guy manage to be so secure that he lets me be free? Granting freedom is not indifference, it's security. And emotional security is one of the rarest and most attractive traits a man can have. When you don't smother, don't demand, don't monitor, you show that you're not afraid of losing. And this absence of fear generates the opposite effect. She starts to fear losing you because you realize you're not there out of necessity. You're there by choice. And choices always have an expiration date. Deep down, a woman can sense when she's with a man who doesn't depend on her emotionally. This freedom, this space to be who she is, creates a connection. She realizes that next to you, she doesn't need to be on the defensive. And that's when she starts to admire you. Admiration in any relationship is the soil where love begins to grow, not under control, but under mutual respect. Eighth reason, because by letting her go, he shows maturity. Letting go of someone you liked, someone you were involved with, someone who made you feel good is not weakness. It's courage. It's emotional maturity from someone who understands that insisting on what isn't reciprocal only drains the soul. When a man does this, he sets himself apart from all the others who plead, who beg for love, who live in hope. He elevates himself. He silently communicates, I choose peace over humiliation. This kind of attitude surprises her because she expects drama, she expects insistence, she expects games. But what she gets is silence, clarity, decision, and that makes her rethink everything. Why didn't he fight for me? Has he moved on? Has he found someone better? Her mind starts to create scenarios, and those scenarios have one thing in common. They all portray you as someone more emotionally evolved than she imagined. Maturity is attractive. It shows that you're not driven by childish impulses. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't fight for space where there is no reciprocity. And in the end, this demeanor makes her see you with new eyes. Eyes that realize she lost someone too mature to beg for superficial love. And this, in her mind, becomes a high-value emotional scarcity. Ninth reason, because he delivers a reality check. I'm not your toy. In many cases, the man becomes an emotional pastime in her life, a constant support, an emotional band-aid, someone she turns to when she feels lonely, but discards when everything returns to normal. However, there comes a moment when the guy wakes up. He realizes he's being used as a distraction, not as a priority, and when he steps away, he delivers a reality check to her. I'm not your toy. This withdrawal doesn't come with anger, it doesn't come with drama, it comes with poise. He disappears with the same force she has been neglecting, and that's when it starts to hurt. Because for the first time, she realizes she has lost control. The guy she thought would always be there has simply vanished, and with him went the constant validation, the emotional comfort, the security of always having someone orbiting around her. This type of reaction is disconcerting because she faces an uncomfortable truth. She tested the limits, and he didn't stay. He didn't shout. He didn't beg. He simply stopped participating in a one-sided game. And this absence carries self-respect, something she feels from afar. And it's then that she begins to realize he was rarer than she thought. 10th reason, because he becomes scarce. Everything that is scarce has more value. This is a basic principle of human psychology. When you're always available, your presence becomes commonplace, almost guaranteed. But when you withdraw, with class, elegance, and detachment, you create scarcity. And scarcity activates desire, because she begins to realize that what was easy is no longer available. And what isn't available intrigues. You become that recurring thought, that absence felt in the details. And the more you distance yourself, the more she moves closer, mentally, emotionally, because your absence starts to speak louder than your presence ever did. It's as if silence gains a voice, and that voice says, he's not here anymore, and maybe he never will be. Scarcity transforms you into a reference point, because when she tries to find someone of equal value, she faces a harsh reality. Not everyone possesses your poise, your calm, your confidence. And then she understands that she lost something not easily found elsewhere. And what is rare once lost becomes an obsession. And what was taken for granted becomes an urgent need. 11th reason, because he represents the unresolved challenge. Deep down, every woman is attracted to a challenge, not the childish challenge of who replies last, but the emotional challenge of conquering someone who seems complete, whole, and secure. When she feels she hasn't managed to win over this man, who hasn't fallen for the game, who hasn't lost himself, who hasn't begged for attention, she enters a state of restlessness, because her mind hates endings without control. You become the chapter she couldn't close, the story that ended without explanation. And this feeling is deeply unsettling because she senses that in some way you slipped through her fingers, and human nature by default craves control. When she doesn't have it, she begins to move toward it, and that's when you cease to be just a guy. And it becomes her emotional objective, even if she doesn't admit it. The challenge awakens the hunter instinct. And when you represent that emotional obstacle, when she feels she hasn't been able to decipher you, tame you, or hold you down, you start to occupy a special space in her mind, a space that others can't fill. She might even try to move on, but she will always compare her next relationships to the one she couldn't completely conquer, you. 12th reason, because he breaks the illusion that she is irreplaceable. Many women grow up feeling that they are unique, special, above average, and often men feed this idea, putting them on a pedestal, treating them as the absolute priority. However, when a man, instead of idolizing, simply moves on, he shatters that illusion. He shows her that no matter how amazing she is, she can also be replaced. And that wounds her pride. It's a subtle but deep hurt, because she starts to question, Did he find someone better? Is someone else receiving what I rejected? This kind of doubt touches the core of feminine ego because she didn't expect to be surpassed. She didn't expect you to have the strength to move on and rebuild. And when she realizes this, the pedestal cracks. And with it, the inflated image she had of herself collapses. The woman who thought she was unattainable now has to deal with the idea that she wasn't as indispensable as she believed. And this shattering of illusion can be liberating, but also painful. It's precisely in this moment of pain and reflection that the interest resurfaces, because you stopped being the one who idolized her and became the one who made her rethink her own importance. 13th reason, because he shows he has options, even if she doesn't know what they are. The greatest seduction lies in what isn't said. When a man confidently distances himself, without needing to justify himself, without throwing indirect hints, without posting to provoke, he leaves a powerful question hanging in the air. Who is he with now? And that doubt hurts, because he hasn't exposed any new woman, but his demeanor conveys that he has options, that he isn't alone crying in his room, and that stirs more than any provocative photo. A woman senses when a man is at peace. She perceives it in his eyes, in the absence of pressure, in the lightness of his withdrawal. And this awareness activates her imagination. She starts to create scenarios. And the more she imagines, the more she suffers, because she is uncertain of anything, but feels she has lost. And this feeling of loss, even without concrete proof, is an extremely strong emotional trigger. Showing that you have options isn't about boasting. It's about conveying value. It's stepping out of the role of someone who begs for love and stepping into the role of someone who chooses where to invest affection. And when you do this with class, you become scarce with options, the kind of man she doesn't come across every day. And this combination is addictive, because she doesn't know who is with you now, but she knows it's not her anymore. And that hurts more than any direct statement. If this video made a difference for you, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Every video we create here is crafted with great care, always aimed at helping you develop and achieve your best version. We want to share practical and direct tips that truly impact your life positively. So don't waste time. Comment below with the word gratitude and the phrase "in search of my best version." This way, the algorithm will push this video to even more men who are seeking growth. Your engagement in the comments is essential for our content to reach those who need these tips the most. Additionally, your support through likes and subscriptions strengthens our work and motivates us to continue creating valuable content for your journey. The more you interact, the more men will also have access to this type of information, which only helps our mission to transform lives. So thank you for being with us on this journey. Stay tuned for upcoming videos, as we're always bringing new insights to help you evolve. A big hug, and see you in the next video.